Hi everyone, my name's James Ivey.
I'm Paul Drew.
From the Studio Rats,
Nice.
and once again I get to be centre stage to drive because we're doing another video with our friends from Antelope Audio, so thanks to them for their support in this video.
Nice.
Now, with my Antelope Audio hat on, one of the things I love about their stuff is the extreme flexibility of the routing matrix.
Right.
Now, I'm the first to admit, it is not the easiest thing to get your head round. However, once you embrace it and you learn its mystical ways, you can achieve some absolutely incredible stuff that it's really difficult to achieve with anybody else's routing system matrix type thing.
It is quite clever, I've got to admit.
It's very, very cool. So let's explain the premise of today's video. So we have a guitar player. We have a guitar. The lovely new Pete Thorne signature.
Yeah,
Sir.
it's nice. It's quite pleased with this.
It's sounding rather awesome.
Yeah.
And what we thought we'd do is we'd do like a demo kind of pre-viz type thing for a new Studio Rats track, for which Paul has done the backing tracks, and I'm afraid he hasn't got a real drummer involved.
I wanted it in time.
Oh, you cut me deep. But we thought we'd use it to show some of the really cool routing features of. In this case, we're using the Antelope Audio Orion Studio, but it works pretty much the same for any of the Antelope interfaces that use the advanced routing matrix, the advanced control panel. So let's explain what's going to happen. We have three different guitar recording platforms set up. We have a clean guitar DI, which sounds something like this. Not inspiring.
No.
We have the Axe FX,
Right.
which we're running in stereo into this here channel.
Okay.
And we're running the Axe FX in stereo dry, but we have a bit of delay coming from Echo Boy and a bit of reverb coming from Deverb.
Right.
Now, I'll get to why we're doing it dry in a moment, but we also have an AFX path coming from the Antelope Audio FX. So we're taking that clean DI input and we are routing it into the AFX chain, and we have a guitar amp. We're using the modern US channel 3.
Right.
And we've got a modern 4x12 with a 57 and a 121 microphone on it. And it sounds like this. Now, we haven't bothered with delay or reverb on that because we are purely using that as a capture. The one we're going to actually monitor is the Axe FX with the reverb and delay.
So why are you recording 3 parts?
Okay, so this video is going to demonstrate not only some of the cool features of the routing matrix and how good the AFX sound, but also the fact that you don't just have to use, let's call them virtual effects, with your Antelope Audio interface. So what we're going to do is we'll do 3 passes. We'll have the clean DI,
Right.
which we will then take a signal after the recording out of the outputs of the interface, the reamp outputs in this case. We'll run it into some pedals, or like a pedal chain.
Nice.
And then to create our amp sound, and we'll run it back in using the line level inputs.
Right.
On the first 4 preamp channels, we can choose from mic level input, line level input, direct input, or high Z guitar type inputs.
Nice.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
The second channel, the Axe FX recording channel,
Yeah.
what I want to do is show how you can use already processed sounds. Like, it could be a real amp. We're using the Axe FX because it's just easier in this case, and you've already got it plumbed in and set up. but we'll show how you can run it through external reverbs or modulation or stuff like that to create your ideal tone. And the third one is we will show you how you can use the already AFX processed guitar tones running through external hardware.
Nice.
So kind of 3 versions of the same thing, if that makes sense.
Okay.
However, first, we need a guitar part.
Oh, no.
And I'm afraid, mate, that does fall firmly in your wheelhouse.
Well, you should be apologising to the viewers other than apologising to me.
So let's get back to here. I will go back to this page.
Yeah.
Everything is set. We can hear.
Just solo.
Let's just make sure we're only going to hear the Axe-FX path.
Sounds like the 80s to me.
It does. I'll run you a little bit into the solo section.
Okay.
Hit record and away we go.
Okay, let's do it.
Do your finest. Lovely.
I'll do.
Very much so. So, just to recap briefly, we're going to have a quick listen to each of these 3 parts because they're all sounding rather lovely. We'll take them out of record and out of that. So, we're going to have a listen to this is the DI. It's not going to float my boat, to be honest. The Axe-FX path. Now, we have to remember that all the reverb is actually coming from... So while we recorded with the sound of delay and reverb, it's not part of the recording.
Right.
Which is kind of important in this case. And then finally, we have our AFX path. I've heard worse.
Definitely. No, that's. I mean, it sounds like the amplifier it's trying to be.
Yeah, which is great.
That's what that amp sort of sounds like. Yeah.
So the next thing to do is to reconfigure our rig for recording and looping back through some external effects, and we will do that via the magic of television after this swift click. So as if by magic, we are back and some effects pedals have magically appeared on the desk. Let's just talk a bit about the routing. We've been a little bit clever, I'd like to think. Now, you can do all these things as hardware inserts inside your DAW. However, you can't then re-record without some clever jiggery pokery because an insert is just an insert for recording to a master, effectively.
Okay.
What we want to do is just create more and more channels. So we've then got our clean DI plus effects, our Axe-FX, our Axe-FX plus effects. Try saying that with your teeth in. And then we'll have our AFX plus hardware effects.
It's a lot of effects.
It's a lot of effects. Options. We like options.
Yeah.
What we've done is we've come out of the reamp output on the Antelope Orion Studio Synergy Core. Into our effects chain, we have the JHS Boss Angry Driver.
Yeah. It's half Blues Driver, half Angry Charlie.
Angry Charlie, that's the one. We then have the rather lovely and the new to both of us today, the
Walrus Audio ACS1.
Very, very nice. This is our amp and our cab emulation, isn't it?
Yep.
Very, very cool. And then we've got the TC Electronic Plethora X3.
X3, which is, and we're using that for delay and reverb.
And a little bit of chorusy loveliness and stuff.
Yeah. That's in the delay, yeah.
And it sounds really awesome.
Yeah.
So the cleverness, of course, is coming in here. So we've got our clean DI. We have our, let's solo buff these up because we can. We've got our lead guitar DI, and then we've got that's routing out of output 3 inside Pro Tools, which is Complay 3. Complay 3 is routing to reamp 1 out, and then we're using 3 and 4, preamp 3 and 4 in, which are our front inputs,
Right.
and that's routing into comp record 3 and 4. So hence we have comp record 3 and 4 are set up here. And if we play it back, it sounds a lot like this. Very cool. And in context, it sounds like this. Were you channeling your inner Steve Stevens at that point?
I was channeling my inner 80s hair metal, yeah.
And of course, if we wanted to, we could now hit record and record that, and we'd have our clean DI and our DI plus effects, which is our effects path. Moving swiftly on, as they say. This time, moving on to the axe effects. So we're going to route that out to output 3. It's a mono part. It doesn't really make much difference in the grand scheme of things.
No, yeah.
Let's create ourselves a new stereo input. So this is going to be Axe FX plus effects. You see where this is going? And then we're going to put that.
So why would you do this? Tell the viewers why you would do this. What's the point of, because we just used the axe effects.
Yep.
Now, we've recorded a dry signal.
The axe effects is effectively our amp in this case. So say you were not going to be mixing the track. Yep. You're just a recording engineer, or you're a self-recorder, and you don't want to commit your delay, reverb, modulation to the track, but you have got the amp tone of your dreams.
Right.
Maybe you've got a Matchless or a Bad Cat behind you, and you think that is the tone I want,
right?
But you're not 100% sure on the delays or the reverbs or stuff like that. So this way, you're capturing your amp tone, but you're giving yourself the option to, yes, you could, as we did earlier, use plugins, or you could go, I'm going to route this out through my pedals in real life. Nice. So we want to turn off the Angry Driver. We also want to turn off the ACS1 because we don't need the amp cab emulation anymore.
Well, I tell you what, should we unplug them and then go straight into the TC?
Yeah, let's do that. So we're routing out of, this is the Axe Effects channel now, which was just the amp and cab emulation.
Yep.
We're now routing out of output 3, which we know routes from output computer play 3 into reamp 1 out, which then goes from there into the plethora AX3 and back into our stereo return channels, which we can see is coming up here, and they are stereoed. If I do that, we can definitely prove they're stereoed, going into comp record 3 and 4, and 3 and 4 are set up, so we can hear it.
The 80s are definitely back, aren't they?
I love that. I really like that sound. Now, the cool thing, of course, now is we can do exactly the same thing for a third time, this time with our guitar plus AFX. So let's route that to output 3. Let's create another stereo channel, which is here, and let's call this AFX plus effects.
Now, can I just ask, AFX is the Antelope FX?
Yes,
right.
They are the FPGA and DSP effects that were processed in hardware inside the unit.
Nice.
And we have committed that to the take.
Okay.
So it's just the guitar, again, the guitar amp and cab. And we're now running it, going to do the same trick, running it back through the Plethora AX3.
Nice.
And again, we set up exactly the same way. Input 3 and 4, output there, and let's hit solo on here, unmute that, mute these two because we don't need those anymore, and here it sounds.
I'm quite impressed with the amp, actually. I mean, I know it's like, we're emulating that very sort of famous metal-covered 90s amp.
Yes.
But it sounds like it should.
I'd be tempted to put an EQ and roll off on the bottom end.
I think
Yes.
personally you put a tube screamer in front of it and do the classic tube screamer trick about, reducing the bottom end on the dual rectifier.
Yeah.
And then, that really works.
It's brilliant, isn't it? But the thing I think is really cool is that we've created our own hybrid workflow. We've used a DI to completely recreate our amp in pedals, in hardware. We've used a real amp, or in this case, the Axe FX, and then added effects after the recording, which to me is probably my favourite of the three.
Yeah,
but
me too.
but also price-wise, it's probably the most expensive of the three as well. You do get what you pay for. And then finally, we've used the Antelope FX guitar emulation, again through real hardware effects, and it's brilliant. It just works, and I can't think of another platform where you can do that as easily.
No, definitely, and it's almost, you could almost have, if you've got some guitar effects like your reverbs and delays, something that's like the TC Plethora, you could have that set up permanently and then always just run that stuff through those effects if that's what you
I know people who use a hardware reverb pedal as the master reverb on their live mix. Because when the vocalist starts to talk, there's no kind of, where's the bypass? You just go stomp.
Nice.
Turns it off. Very, very cool.
Really good.
So 3 options for your guitar recordingness.
Yes, recordingness. Good word. Good word.
Really hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. Thanks to the team at Antelope Audio for sponsoring this video. But for now, my name's James Ivey.
I'm Paul Drew.
From the Studio Rats, and we'll see you again very soon.